Hey everybody, Fishman here. Welcome to another video. A video that was supposed to be about me fixing the leak in this aquarium. But as it turns out, even though this aquarium is over 20 years old, it is not leaking. The problem has come from the high humidity planter here in the back. Now, as you can see around the edge, creeping out from underneath the lid, is a fair amount of plant material. It's mostly Java moss. But what you see here is not the problem. Apparently though, in the back, on the far right, there was enough of that material that it was causing some wicking that would drain water out of the filter, and then it would drain down the back of the aquarium. And because of the way the stand is set up, it was able to run along the under edge of that, and about 2/3 towards the front, like I showed you in the last video, it started to drip down there. And that's the part that kind of confused me, because aquariums, like if that filter was leaking, let's say at the front right ledge and it was dripping down the side, I would see it, and that way I would know, well, it's just a filter, I'll clean it, it's no big deal. But because it was going down the back and then running along the bottom, I thought that it was leaking from that particular spot, because when I put my finger up there near the silicone was wet and the outside of the aquarium was dry. And like I said, that's what got me confused. So even though it doesn't need to be fixed, I am going to do what I was supposed to do with this for quite some time now. Which, first off, is I need to trim this, prune it, and also get some cuttings off of it, because this fern is doing really well and I want to definitely get some more propagated. So what I've done here is I just snipped off a lot of the extra runners, and I am going to plant this one up. I've made a new planter exactly the same as the old one, and I'm setting up exactly the same way as well. A layer of gravel, a layer of soil, and then another layer of gravel. The only important thing you have to remember when you're doing these, this particular type of fern, is you can't bury the runners. If you bury the runners, they'll drown and the whole thing will just die off. So you don't want to do that. So you can see the runners are near the surface here. And for the moment, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick it in the pond. Well, mostly because I have to work on this. But also I want to be able to keep an eye on it for a little while and make sure it's rooting properly. And then I'm going to probably move it back up here. So while I am just popping this lid off, and as you can see here, using a toothbrush to clean the extra mulm and plant material off of this, I want to actually talk about a couple of things that came up in comments from Wednesday's video. A couple of people were asking questions or commenting on aspects of filter maintenance. And this is actually a perfect example of filter maintenance. This filter doesn't really need to be cleaned. It is not at the point where its filtration capacity is being hindered, but because of the material and how it was growing, it was causing issues in this particular tank. It wasn't going to cause any problems with the fish population or anything, but it is one of those things that can kind of creep up on you with those kinds of filters that don't give immediate markers of when they need to be cleaned. Most hobs will pump water into the filter. So if the sponge or whatever media there is getting a little old or a little filled or dirty, what happens is there's an overflow mark on the filter and the water will come out a different spot. And that's an indicator saying that, well, the sponges or whatever is a little dirty, time to clean it. And canister filters have similar sort of thing in the sense that because it's a closed system and you're pumping water into it or out of it, doesn't really matter, the flow rate going through the filter will slow down if there is enough resistance, and that's another marker. But if you have things like a sponge filter, that was one of the specific questions I had gotten, or a box filter or an underground filter and that sort of thing, like air-driven filters that don't have that indicator, you can think that the filter is running perfectly fine, and in most instances what is happening is water is just sort of circulating in the pipe and bubbling up and down and not actually passing through most of the media. And that is one of the things that can happen with this style of filter. Underground filters are a good example of this. It is very difficult to plug one of these up. I ran one for I think it was 2 years, and decided just to give it a clean to see what it looked like. And it was still functioning, but watch as I turn this gravel, like turn this and then have the gravel fall off. It comes off almost in a piece. See, a lot of the material, the detritus in here, has almost like glued the gravel together. And that isn't necessarily causing the filter not to work properly, because there's not really a lot of dirt in here. But it will change the flow pattern through the filter. What happens is a thing I like to call channeling. It happens a lot in canister filters as well, where the water will find a path of least resistance and end up avoiding a lot of the material. And this is something you need to keep an eye on. There's no real rule of thumb for when to clean these filters. I wish there were, and it's something I can easily just tell you. In my particular case, when I watch the fish tanks, I just look for a change in which species of algae is growing in the tank. If you have like blackbeard algae, blue-green algae, or any of that sort of stuff happening, there's definitely something wrong with the filtration in the tank, and it's not doing what it should do. In this particular case, I was just cleaning it because I was in here anyway, and I need to get those goldfish out of that tank, and it was just time. It's been about a year since I set this one up, and I wanted to clean it up enough so I don't have to worry about the high humidity planter, again, doing that wicking thing and having water dripping where it shouldn't be dripping. It is very simple to clean these, as you can see. All I did is I dumped this in the bin, put some water in it, sloshed it around for a few seconds, and then put it all back together. It's very straightforward, very easy to do. You only have to do it every year or so, which is one of the reasons why I really like Uggs. They're a very good filter for that, and the high humidity planters augment it very nicely. I'm not sure, actually, to tell you the truth, which one I prefer more, which is either the undergravel filter going to a high humidity planter or the box filters going to them. I'm still on the fence. I'm not sure. I might be slightly leaning towards the box filters, mostly because they give more visuals, and also because you can do different things inside them. But again, I'm not entirely sure yet. As far as sponge filters go, which is the question I got, my rule for it is sponge filters will get to the point where they get a little jelly, like they have accumulated enough material and there's enough bacterial growth in them that instead of being like when you squeeze them, they're just like react just like a sponge. They turn into more of like almost like a solid gel. At that point, you definitely should have cleaned your sponge filter. I have had a few filters go like that, mostly in turtle filters. The sponges tend to get less cleaning done in those. But I have seen once or twice in a sponge filter where it's gone like that, and you're definitely not getting proper filtration when that happens. Other than that, like I said with some of my other videos about box filters, you can tell with them a little bit better whether or not the water is flowing through them or just bouncing up and down inside the lift stack. Harder to do that with sponge filter. Just watch in general how the water is circulating around the filter. Maybe you can tell that way. Again, it all depends upon how you look at it. So there you go. This is clean now. As you can see, there's still a fair amount of mulm that's in the filter. It's pouring out now. I'm going to let that drain out properly and reset up. And then after that, I will do not a gravel vacuum because I don't have any gravel in my tanks, but I'll skim the excess mulm off and do a water change on that, and then it'll be ready to go for another year. And I'm going to leave this here until I'm certain that it's doing what it should be doing. So thank you very much for watching. Leave comments, let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next video, and bye for now.